It began as a vision in the 60s. The pioneer in sports television discovering the wide world of sports, inventing the means to cover it. Celebrated in the 70s, televising the world's biggest events and man's loneliest achievements. The leaders and the legends, the action and the ecstasy, the triumph of Olympic excellence, now embracing the 80s, leading a new way into a new time, the leader in sports television, ABC Sports.
Okay, our first match. A fellow who's won only one title against a guy who's won more than all of us can count, Mark Roth. Well, that should be a good match, and I think it's appropriate that we start the 1980 season with Mark Roth on board.
Well, to set the stage, David, is we can look for some big scores today. This pair has always yielded big scores. The last perfect game rolled on ABC was rolled on this pair by Jim Steppich in 1974, and we can expect somebody to threaten that today.
Can't get all 12 if you can't get one. Bill Straub, of course, is one of the bigger guys on tour and a power bowler like Low Star. And this is the power bowler extraordinaire. Mark Roth.
Watch Roth's profile. The key to Roth is watch how his arm swing is always close to his body and how his wrist stays completely behind the ball. He does not top the ball. Look at how that hand is directly behind the ball, in close to his body. Tremendous wrist action.
Curiously enough, last night he wasn't feeling well. He said he got a kink in his side, bowling against you sometime yesterday, I guess. Lots of pin action. Mark Roth starts off in a double.
Well, apparently it's gone today, Dave, but that's the kind of strikes the power player needs. When you have the tremendously powerful ball like these 5 players today, the percentage is in the light hit to mix these light pins up. The high hit, they can often get split trouble. So the ideal is to keep it thin and watch them spin.
Bill Straub, a little light on the head pin.
Big guy Bill Straub. Notice how he holds it up very high, but takes it away very gingerly. Nice and easy, so he doesn't build up too much speed with that big body and long arc. Once again, his wrist is caught completely at the top swing. Look at that. Tremendous power. Rotates completely around the ball. Counterclockwise rotation.
Not a very good way to start. Down 22 pins quickly to Mark Roth.
The difference over the last couple of years, Dave, that the contemporary players have been dominating the tour with the big power ball has been the spare-making ability. Marshall Holman, Mark Roth, the 2 #1 top crankers or power players, seem to be very good spare shooters on top of it. And I think that's what makes the difference in these matches.
Didn't quite get it. In a match against Mark Roth, can't afford too many open frames, and Bill Straub has one in the second frame and got 9 in the third. And Roth, if anyone on the tour, has what you would call a killer instinct. He does, and you can't fall behind him. You're right, David. He puts you away and laughs and smiles. You know, we'll see Mark Roth coming up here now. We're talking about the little kink that he got in his side last night. It's happened to all of us, I think, when you sleep the wrong way or something and you wake up and you don't know how you did it. He said he doesn't know what he did nor how he did it. It was bowling last night. And he said he woke up this morning, it was gone. He feels fine. Too much head pin.
Roth, before we went on the air, Dave, said that the right-hand lane, it's 29-30 we're using here. Lane 30 is quite a bit tighter, doesn't hook as much as 29. Simply the reason is the lay of the boards. Some harder boards in the pine, some harder pieces of pine, but usually have a tendency for a cranker to turn it too much on those lanes and end up high.
He has a 3, 6, 10 left. And gets all 3. So Mark Roth with a spare up in the third.
Mark,
up by 19. Let's watch it again.
He emphasizes his spare-making ability by throwing the ball much straighter at this spare. Watch this ball actually slide back. You can see it right there into the 3, 6, 10. And I think that's a good tip for anyone to take, whether they be a big hook ball player or just a moderate hook ball. Throw it a little harder and a little straighter at the spares. Increases your percentage.
Mark Roth has opened up a substantial lead over Bill Straub in our match number 1 on the PBA Tour, and we will return right after this.
I'm going to show you something really tough. Look at this Ford van. Ford's forward engine design gives you easy move-around room inside, and for 1980, improved gas mileage, too. Ford's the only van with twin I-beam suspension, and Ford's van has tough body-on-frame construction. And can these Fords carry a load? This E350 carries over 5,000 pounds of payload. Offense and defense, get in.
Okay, guys, play ball.
Yeah!
Ford van, built Ford tough.
Every professional bowler has an arsenal of his own, special weapons for special lane conditions. Now, you can have your own arsenal in just 2 bowling balls from AMF. The AMF 3-Dot Classic in hard rubber for normal lane conditions. And now the AMF 3-Dot Classic in soft rubber for lanes that demand more traction. Hard rubber 3-Dot, soft rubber 3-Dot. The arsenal from AMF.
On ABC's Wide World of Sports, the Hula Bowl. And for the first time, back-to-back Heisman winners will play against each other. Charles White and Billy Sims, next.
This is Barbara Straub, who's anxiously watching her husband, who now trails Mark Roth by 19 pins. A spare up, and he's shooting in the 4th frame in match number 1, her first show on the Pro Bowlers Tour. And he gets it. He had to have that, man.
Right, David. That was Bill's best stroke. He's only made the telecast one other time years back, and he definitely has a disadvantage bowling Roth. Roth is such an experienced player. Bowls on the telecast almost every week, and the difference is in the first 3 or 4 frames. But that's experience. Straub loosened up on that shot and threw his best shot. He can reduce Roth's lead to 9 pins with a double.
And he gets it. Now the margin is 9. It'd show you how close these 2 bowlers in their first match have been all week. Bill Straub's average this week has been 225.2. Mark Roth, 225 flat. Can't cut it any closer than that.
That's for 42 games. That's a long haul.
Knew that one was there. That's a double for Mark Roth, and he responds to the challenge. Back up by 19.
Dave, it's truly amazing how these pros today, the younger players, have developed such a power-packed ball. And the reason is that today's conditions are more even across the lane. They don't have as many worn spots, so you can hook the ball more on the lane without the fear of it jumping. And they're definitely taking advantage of it. Roth, one of the best, has a 19-pin lead, can extend to 29 with a turkey.
He leaves the 10.
Didn't catch it all on the upswing. The key ingredient to a power ball, if the players at home want to know it, is getting the ball on the upswing, lifting on the upswing. Here this ball wasn't quite caught with a full wrist motion. The 6-pin will just lay in the channel. That's what we call the weak 10, not to be confused with the old solid 10 that goes right around the top.
Yeah, this one he didn't deserve. The other one he would deserve and wouldn't expect to get it, and he didn't get this.
Cross lane, just was careless, strictly careless. He throws the ball very straight cross lane. That time he just threw it right at the channel. It just a mental error by Mark Roth. Left the door wide open for Straub. He can take the lead for the first time in the match with another strike.
Notice that he had a 300 game earlier this week, and we had a lot of them this week. I think 7 in the tournament this week.
Straub's in the lead, Dave.
Now, that's a good sign for him, trailing Mark Roth early to come back and take advantage of an open frame like that. Maybe he's over the jitters now.
And, well, Roth missing that spear is quite an opening, and it's almost a sure bet on the tour. When you make a big mistake like Roth just did and miss a single-pin spear, your opponent's automatically going to double.
We have some technical troubles here, and you're seeing the score posted as the spectators here see it in Alameda. Left to 7.
A ripping 7. That 5-pin just went tearing out of there and just slid right in front of the 7. That would have given Bill Straub a 14-pin lead. As it sits now with a conversion, 3 pins, close match through 7 frames.
Had a funny line. Somebody asked him his goal in bowling. He says, to make more money than I spend. I think we all have that goal. And he gets the spare, and he's 127 in the 6th with a spare up in the 7th. A tight match against Mark Roth, and we'll be back.
You survey where the land is wild and unforgiving, filling in empty places on maps that until now have been almost unknown. But now comes Miller time. Time to head for the best tasting beer you can find, Miller High Life.
If you got the time, we've got the beer. Miller Beer. Miller Beer.
The satisfaction from the job, per se, from being a State Farm agent, comes, for me at any rate, from dealing with people. I try to treat them exactly the same way that I would like to be treated, so that when they leave my office, they feel, hey, this guy took care of me. I think people expect great service from State Farm. Our reputation is built on it, and it's my job to see that they get that service.
And like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Hello, everybody. Let's all support our Winter Olympic Games. Send your contribution to Box 1980A, Lake Placid, New York. So long.
Along with Nelson Burton Jr., this is Dave Dials, and this is Jay Robbins.
Jay just missed the telecast, but he made a charge right up at the end. It wasn't really a close match. Mark Roth had a big lead, but Jay Bolt's very steady all week. 6th place, $3,000.
And our statistician, Palmer Fogren, finished in 7th, and you finished 8th. You came on pretty well. Mark Roth with a strike in the 7th.
A tribute to Mark Roth's concentration ability. Usually when a player makes an error, a simple error like Roth, he's very discouraged, like he did in the 6th frame, missed a 10-pin, had enough gumption and got his game back together and made that real good shot in the 7th. Now he can regain the lead. He's trailing by 3, 124th in the 6th, strike in the 7th, could make a lead of 7 pins.
A lot of pin action. Mark Roth with a double, and that's the sort of thing you come to expect from a guy like Mark Roth. Very key shot.
And that's what the power players depend on. The light hit, Roth went to his best percentage shot. Shook him off the sideboard. The wall shot, as the pro bowlers call it. And now he has the lead by 3.
You think a guy who had not been on national television as many times as Mark Roth had might not have responded to the challenge the way he did.
I agree.
Bill Straub responding very well to the pressure.
Bill Straub is not going to lay down. He's been a winner. I've known him for many years. He bowls in Midwest region with me, David, and when Straub has a shot to hit the pocket with that powerful ball that he has, he never gives in. Roth is going to have to take it from Straub. I expect Straub to go right back in the lead here. He's trailing by 7, can take the lead in the 9th by 3 again with another strike.
And this here again, every time you and I do a show, we come up to the 9th frame, talk about the importance of that. And he's a little thin.
A pivotal frame.
He leaves a 2-8.
2-8. Double wood, a difficult shot when the lanes are this slick. He has to be careful not to go by it, yet not throw it too soft and let it hook over to the left gutter.
Now explain to me and our viewers again the critical importance of the 9th frame. We talk about the 10th, but the 9th you think is often more important.
Often, because you take the pressure off the other player when you give him an opening. Now Roth can still win the match without having to strike here in the 9th. He has 2 shots at beating Bill Straub. In fact, Straub's going to give him 3 shots at shutting him out because he just went by the 2-8. Ross, sitting on the bench, takes a 19-pin lead. The situation is this. Bill Straub is working a 195 pace. You can see Straub's ball sliding in that heavy oil. Look at that ball, not even biting. Sliding right by the 2-8. Roth for a 29-pin lead.
He teased it, but he leaves 7-10.
And he leaves the crowd buzzing. A good shot, apparently a good shot, hitting very light. Roth ripped the 5-pin. It went behind the 7. The normal pin action on that hit, the 5-pin goes over, takes out the 7. The 6 came around and hits the 10, but neither one of them happened that time. Roth is just going to go for 1. The 7-10 split. We've seen 300 games. We've seen everything. What a turnaround. In 19 years of being on television, here we have it. The one, the only, never before done on television. Watch Roth. Kicks the 10-pin out of the back in a crucial situation. Watch this out of the pit. There it goes.
What an unbelievable shot.
No interference, no machine touching now. Now he has to settle down. The match is still not over. Mark Roth needs a mark here to shut out Bill Straub. Unbelievable. What a change of events. If Roth does not make that 7-10, Straub could have got up in the 10th frame and doubled to win the match. As it is, Roth has shut him out.
I could not believe that. I don't think Mark could either.
You know, the pros make the 7-10 every once in a while, but they don't leave it that often, and it's just tremendously great break to have it happen.
We have a winner, Mark Roth, over Bill Straub, and the Pro Bowlers Tour is starting with a bang. And we will continue after this message from one of our sponsors and station identification. We'll be right back.
No experience, no job. I could do that job, but who'd give me the chance?
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines.
We don't ask for experience,
we give it.
You won't read it in a book,
you live it.
Pick a service, pick a challenge, set yourself apart.
Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. What a great place. It's a great place to start.
Yep, that's bad dandruff, all right.
And I've tried everything.
I recommend Denorex shampoo. It's strong medicine. Look, a medical report proves Denorex helps relieve itching and scaling of a scalp problem even worse than dandruff.
So Denorex should work for me. Wow, it tingles.
That's an extra relief medicine no leading shampoo has.
That's a great dandruff shampoo.
And gentle to your hair. Denorex, strong medicine for dandruff.
Saturday on the Ropers, Helen knows that look of love.
Stanley has another woman.
I really enjoy working with SO Cable. It's nice being outside and meeting people. I like the idea of bringing folks a variety of shows from places like, you know, San Francisco and Portland. I also like bringing in lots of good quality shows for the kids, too. You know, when you look at all the entertainment you're getting for only pennies a day, well, you just can't beat it.
For availability in the Rogue Valley, call 779-1811, Grants Pass 476-6606, and in Roseburg 673-1267.
They're here. Great Western Trading Days at Crater Lake Ford. Time to corral the facts on real Western savings. Take a 1980 Ford F100 4x2 Crater Lake Ford price from $52.59 versus the 1980 Chevy C10 with shorter wheelbase priced at $53.13. Remember, Ford F100 gives you the best gas mileage and longest range of any American-built pickup. Check our 1980 Courier, higher mileage than Datsun or Toyota. And do your Great Western trading at Crater Lake Ford. We won't be out-traded.
You're watching KOBI 5M Medford.
We have started the PBA's season with a real bang. Mark Roth converting the 7-10 and beating Bill Straub 222 to 184, and he now will take on a young man who has not won on the PBA Tour, but a guy who's coming off his best year ever, says he feels better than he ever has before. Jim Plessinger out of State College, Pennsylvania.
Well, Roth riding the momentum of a good year and sensationalism of making the 7-10, the providential shot of almost impossibility, should be a very tough match for young Plessinger. Roth's loose, confident, and has it all going.
Now, this is the 10 that he left in the first game because of a lack of concentration, but came back and got the 7-10 and finished with a flurry of strikes for 222, just about on his average this week.
Well, David, you're right. It's the weak 10, the ball not quite finishing enough, but I'm sure he'll make the adjustment. Now, watch how he moves the extreme left side and uses just straight ball lift and straight across. Nice, easy coverage this time.
Starts with a spare, does Mark Roth. Man who most people think is a cinch to be the bowler of the year again. The official election results have not been announced, but they should be shortly. Young Jim Plessinger. He comes from a place where they turn out pretty good football players, particularly linebackers. And in fact, he went to Penn State for a couple of years. And he jumps quickly into the lead.
Jim Plessinger is a very low-key man out on the tour, but very confident for a young player. At just 24 years of age, he's developed his game. He wants to make a good living out here, and he's really worked hard. Look at that ideal position at the top of the swing. He has a little drift in his approach. He lets his hip slide to his left and comes through. Notice his hand rotates all the way around the ball, just like the young contemporary players.
You know, he wanted to be a power bowler so much that he took a year off the tour to go back and change his entire game around.
You got to give him credit for that.
10 is rather stubborn today, though.
The same thing that afflicted Mark Roth, the weak 10 on the left-hand lane. When you have lanes that are this slick and pretty good scoring, when you're coming in light like that, the best thing to do is just hold the ball a little lower on your push away and turn the ball a little more at the point of release. That'll make the ball finish that extra half a board to knock the 10 out. There's not much you can do when you're hitting the pocket. Just slow the ball up and a little more power.
You know, Mark Roth has often been quoted as that. When he gets in trouble, he knows invariably the trouble is he has to slow down.
Yeah, Mark, he likes to fireball. That's his natural rhythm. And when you take a little bit away from your natural rhythm, then you have to make some other adjustments.
Like you say, bowling has become like other sports. It's the era of the long ball in baseball, and it's the era of the power bowler.
I agree. Bowling has, because of the new finishes and the polyester bowling balls and the soft rubber balls that are made today, the lighter pins, the scores are naturally up. I'd say they're up 10 pins over the last 15 years, simply because the object itself, the pins themselves, are just easier, a little easier to knock down, but it doesn't take the quality out of these top players.
A guy like Mark Roth would have been a quality top-ranked bowler in any era.
Well, I think so. Television, the Professional Bowlers Tour, this telecast we're doing today has reached so many young players. Mark Roth is actually a graduate of the Pro Bowlers Tour telecast. He watched it when he was a young man, learned a lot of lessons at that time. He, fortunately, was one of the few young bowlers that learned the contemporary shot a little bit before anybody else, the power crank shot. And I would say that the results of the last 3 years have been that he is dominating now. He has one problem, and that is his hand. It stops him every once in a while. During the last commercial, he had to go over and patch it back up with some cotton and collodion. But at the rate of $10,000 a week, I think he can suffer through a sore thumb.
Yeah, you play over a little pain. This program is being brought to you as an exclusive presentation of ABC Sports. Let's pause now 5 seconds to permit our local stations to identify themselves. We're back now. Bo Burton with Dave Dials. And you're talking about so many young players out on the tour as Mark Roth gets a spare in the third. We'll pick that up in a minute. Let's watch Mark Roth's footwork, Bo.
Mark has the six-step approach, the only player that takes that, and he's very natural with it. And it gives him the additional power, but also lets him wait for the ball a little longer than some of the other players. Nobody's ever taught the six-step approach, but if Mark Roth continues to dominate the game as he has in the last couple of years, I wouldn't mind seeing some other people try it.
This is Jim Plessinger. A little light, but lots of pin action, and he rolls it.
If you notice when Jim Plessinger comes out of the ball, you hear a little popping action, and that's the extremely tight thumb and finger holes he uses, and it's actually a vacuum reaction as the thumb and fingers come out. And that's a good tip for a lot of people at home. They want to use the holes very loose, David, and if you can use fairly tight holes like most of the pros do, you can hold the ball more relaxed in your hand and get a far better roll because the wrist action is much quicker and the hand action is much quicker when those forearm and finger muscles are relaxed.
You feel like you're controlling the ball rather than the ball controlling you sometimes.
Definitely.
We're in match number 2, Mark Roth against Jim Plessinger on the Pro Bowlers Tour, and we'll continue live from Alameda, California, right after this.
If you choose your tools as carefully as you use them, choose Master Mechanic Tools from True Value Hardware Stores. Master Mechanic Tools are American-made from superior materials to give you the performance and long life you would expect from a professional quality tool. True Value hardware stores are so confident of this quality that they'll replace any master mechanic tool that fails to perform as expected. And that means any tool from the wide line of master mechanic tools sold only at participating True Value hardware stores.
Harvey Firestone once used a fleet of taxi cabs to improve his tire. Cabs rolled up a lot of miles every day, and Harvey thought that was a good way to judge a tire. Well, that hasn't changed very much. How it works on the road is still a pretty good way to judge a tire. And right now, American drivers are rolling up over 160 million miles every day on Firestone's 721 radio. Now, Harvey would say that ought to tell you something about the 721.
America's Cindy Nelson, downhill bronze medalist at Innsbruck, races for gold this February in the 1980 Winter Olympics, exclusively on ABC.
We're back live. Nelson Burton Jr. with Dave Dials, and this is Marshall Holman, who's going to meet the winner of the match we're in now between Mark Roth and Jim Plessinger. And young man does not lack for confidence.
Dynamic Marshall. Mark Roth with his back to the wall. He's trailing Jim Plessinger by 12 pins, fourth frame, spare working.
Didn't quite get it.
Dave, Mark has been around the pocket. First frame was a 10-pin, second frame a 10-pin, third frame the 9-pin, and here again the fourth frame he breaks up a little high and leaves a 4-pin. So even the power ball of Roth doesn't carry all the time. There's 4 pocket hits, no strikes.
Four consecutive spares for Mark Roth. And here we see the score as he trails Jim Plessinger by 12.
Tell a score tells the story. Roth, no strikes. Plessinger, 3 strikes. Plessinger, 12-pin lead. Now, what Roth has to do when you're hitting around the pocket but not carrying is settle down and concentrate. Apparently he's not really thinking. Bowling is still a touch game. On the left-hand lane right here, he needs a little more power. On the right-hand lane, he needs a little more follow-through.
And he got it. The tendency there, I suppose, is to overcompensate.
Well, not an experienced player like Roth. I think you have to be concentrating. And a lot of league bowlers, David, do not know what to concentrate on. And mostly it's on your own tempo and how your ball reacts on that lane. Roth should never lose track of what his ball did the frame before and let his body adjust. Plessinger, double working, has a chance to extend his lead to 23 pins.
And he has a triple working now.
Jim Plessinger, 23 ahead, just shredded the rack. Watch the good footwork. See how close that ball comes to his body? That's one of the key elements for accuracy and power. Get that ball right in tight like you're lifting a barbell for leverage. Now the good smooth break, and watch the 5 take out the 7. There it goes. Right on over. Perfect. Dave, I think Plessinger, after watching the two players play, has the best shot today. He throws the least amount of hook, and when lanes are extremely tight, usually the fellow that likes to go the straightest usually wins.
Didn't carry the 7.
And to follow up on that, Dave, most players at home feel that if the lanes are slick, they want to hook it more and more and more. You have to, as an old analogy in football, take what the defense gives you. You have to take what the lane gives you in bowling. When the lanes are hooking, try to hook the ball. Let that ball hook freely at the back end. When the lanes are tight, don't try to overpower them. Go with the boards and let the ball roll.
Well, you've been listening to the guys on Monday night, haven't you? Picking up all that football terminology.
Mark Roth, he's one of the seeded players on the tour, Dave. On Monday, the tour starts with a Rabbit squad. Tuesday, a Pro-Am in practice. Wednesday, qualifying. Thursday, qualifying. Top 24. Friday, top 24. And finally, the finals on Saturday.
Mark Roth left a mess of them.
Mark Roth is actually making a experienced man's mistake. He should not be trying to hook the ball like we said. Watch the tremendous break he gets at the back end. He's just trying to overpower this lane. No matter how great you are, Mark Roth, one of the greatest bowlers I've ever seen, cannot beat the lane.
25-1 odds on the 4, 6, 7, 9, 10 split. He got the 7-10 before, remember? He gets 3 of them this time. So Mark Roth is open in the 6. Gets a round of applause for his effort. But he has now found himself trailing Jim Plessinger by 36 pins.
Mark Roth is almost in a must-strike situation unless Plessinger gives him an opening. And what Roth has to do to get his game back together is move to the right, straighten the ball out, and throw it a little harder. He has to quit trying to hook it so much. He knows how to do it. It's a matter of making the gamble, making the move right now, going for the win. He's not doing it, David. As a camera usually shows, Mark's standing way left, just trying to completely overpower the lane. He's going to get an erratic ball reaction because when you just can't fight through that oil, you have to go with it.
You talked about the impact that television PBA Tour has had on young bowlers, and Mark Roth, whom we're watching now. We had 182 non-exempt pros try to qualify for this. The ARC Alameda Open. Will return to it right after this.
The other day I saw an ad for a bargain muffler at one of those department store auto centers. So I went and I said, how long a wait? He says,
sit down. We'll get to you.
So I went to another department store. I said, how much longer? He says,
sit down. We'll get to you.
Boy, did they get to me. If that's what they call a bargain, it was no bargain. At Midas, they gave me a good price and had me out in under 30 minutes. It pays to Midas size.
Introducing the best gas mileage ratings of any mid-size wagon.
Aren't you glad you bought a Fairmont? The right idea for today.
Introducing the biggest cargo area of any mid-size wagon built in America.
Aren't you glad you bought a Fairmont?
Introducing the lowest sticker price of any mid-size wagon. The 1980 Ford Fairmont wagons got it all.
Aren't you glad you bought a Fairmont?
Glad.
The right idea for today.
This is match number 2. Jim Plessinger threatening to make it a runaway against Mark Roth, who was consulting with Jay Robinson as we took our break there. I think Mark knows what he's doing wrong. He didn't need to talk to anybody else about it. Jay's probably confirming what Mark already knows.
Well, let's watch why Plessinger. Notice he's further to the right. He drifts a little bit to the left on his second step. See how he steps over a little bit. But he's straight down the boards.
We have had a stubborn 7-pin all day on both lanes.
Jimmy Plessinger drifts to the left, but watch how his arm follows his body. That's the key. Dick Weber always drifted to the left, but his arm followed his body. See his arm come back? Now his body realigns with his arm right at the foul line. And notice how he's going right down the board. See that ball? Right down the second arrow, not trying to overpower it. When you go with the boards, the ball will bite on the back end and stay consistent.
And Jimmy Plessinger with a spare in the 7th has a lead of 35 pins against the man who has dominated the tour for the last 2 or 3 years, Mark Roth.
Plessinger going at a 218 clip. Mark Roth 183, 35 pin difference, 8th frame coming up. Roth has to hope for something disastrous to happen to Jim Plessinger because he is so far behind, even a string of strikes wouldn't bail him out.
And that's not disastrous except for Mark Roth.
Well, Plessinger's just doing the right thing. You have to, I don't know how many analogies you can draw. You cannot go against what the object of the game is. Roth is trying to overpower the lanes. It just will not work consistently today.
This time he leaves the 10.
Once again, the usually powerful ball of Mark Roth is not being able to have the free run at the pocket. What I mean is that the oil on the lane, or the reaction part of the lane, is about 45 feet down the lane. And when Mark Roth's ball is skidding 45 feet, it only has 15 feet to break. That's not enough to let it take over.
Mark Roth with a spare in the 8th. We're looking at a guy here who's dominated bowling, and we'd like to take a moment here to talk about a guy who's not with us anymore. Dick Batista died recently, a guy who came on the tour some years ago and remembered as a fine bowler, but remembered too because he had a heart transplant in September of 1976 right out here in California and came back to bowling. The only guy we know of in athletics who has come back to his competition after the transplant. And our heartfelt sympathies go out to the many friends and the fine family of Dick Batista out of Astoria, New York. You know, We saw a picture there a minute ago of Mark Roth smiling, and he's not taking a cavalier nor a casual approach to this, but you mentioned during our commercial break that he is the loosest bowler on the tour.
He is relaxed.
Always the same, always nice. Jim Plessinger running away with it now with a double in that key ninth frame, and he now is up by 46. It would take several miracles now for Mark Roth.
Well, it's just about history. But going back to a few things, the lesson to be learned in this match is play the lanes. Don't let the lanes play you. Roth let the lanes play him. Jim Plessinger is going with the lane. Down in the boards when they're slick. Let it hook when they're hooking. Plessinger a possible 248 game.
And he has a string of 3. Jim Plessinger winning our second match against Mark Roth, and will return with more action from Alameda right after this. Plessinger versus Holman.
There are 2,000 twisting, turning miles on this river, and you know them all. But the one you know best ends with Miller time.
When it's time to relax.
Time for the best tasting beer you can find. America's quality beer, Miller High Life.
Hey man, how you doing there? Did you get one? I thought we get to sample.
Miller beer.
The world's most advanced twin-blade razors are only as careful, gotcha, as you are. The Norelco rechargeable rotary razor has 36 surgical steel blades, carefully protected by 3 floating heads, and a unique shaving angle for a very close shave wherever you are, without a nick or a cut. The choice is yours. The close, careful Norelco rechargeable rotary razor, or 2 blades and gotcha.
The Firestone Forever and the Sears Die Hard. Take a close look at the warranties. The free replacement part of the Die Hard full warranty ends after only 90 days. But if the Firestone Forever battery ever fails to hold a charge, Firestone will replace it free for as long as you own the car in which it was originally installed, provided it isn't damaged due to accident, abuse, or a bad charging system. If you need a battery and you're going to keep your car for more than 90 days, you want the Firestone Forever.
Okay, the winner of match number 2 is Jim Plessinger. 237 to 180 for Mark Roth. So it's Plessinger against Marshall Holman now in our penultimate match on the Pro Bowlers Tour. And a reminder to all of you that the Hula Bowl, another bowl that's coming up next, except on the West Coast. The Hula Bowl live from Hawaii with Keith Jackson. And some of the finest collegiate players in the land will be on hand. We were there last year, and we can tell you that not only will many fans be there, but lots of pro scouts will be there on hand. The young man you're watching now is Marshall Holman. He's warming up for his match against Jim Plessinger. Charles White, the Heisman Trophy winner from Southern Cal, was weakened a bit by flu even before the Rose Bowl game against Ohio State, although the Buckeyes certainly didn't notice that. He has been ill since then, has lost some weight, and we are told he will not play in the Hula Bowl. But, of course, Billy Sims of Oklahoma will, along with many other fine performers, including the Southern Cal quarterback, Paul McDonald. And one of the fine, fun events in sports, the Hula Bowl, that's coming up, except on the West Coast, live, right here on ABC.
Jim Plessinger starting the match. Marshall Holman, the higher qualifier, qualifying second, gets the choice of starting line. He has decided to make Plessinger start.
The winner, when it's all over, gets $10,000. Plessinger leaves the 10.
Plessinger keeping the ball in play. I don't see him making any mistakes hardly at all this game. He's zeroed in. Marshall Holman is definitely going to have his hands full. Once again, Marshall Holman loves to play the big hook ball out on the lanes. His wife's sitting right behind him, and he is going to have a little bit of trouble, as Mark Roth did. Let's see how he tries to overcome these slick lanes.
Plessinger just hangs on for a spare in number 1. It'd be interesting to see Marshall Holman. We mentioned he does not lack for confidence. He said last night when we were here in 5 finalists were announced, he turned to the audience and says, I'm gonna win tomorrow.
Well, he's going to have to earn it. I don't think that the conditions are conducive to Marshall's game. Let's see if he tries to overpower him or goes with the boards. The one thing he's doing different than all the other players, he's using a rubber ball, which hopefully will bite the surface a little more.
And he left the 10.
Almost reminiscent to Mark Roth's shot. You see the ball go way down the lane and finish in the last 10 feet, not strong enough. Tremendous profile, Marshall Holman. Low, steady. Look at how steady his head is. Arm in perfect position. Right next to his body. Tremendous hand rotation. Look at how that knee stays down. Tremendous extension through the ball.
So each player here in match number 3 starts with a spare.
Marshall Holman, a dynamic player out here, excites the crowds in various ways and very controversial. I think could be the star of the 80s. He has as nice a game and winning temperament as I've ever seen in a player. If you drew pictures of how you would want a player to bowl, I don't think you could do it any better than Marshall Holman does.
There's a little bit of Muhammad Ali in him, too. He's a little thin and leaves the 10.
Well, something we're not used to seeing is the big power players leaving corner pins, but once again, the reason is very simple. You have to go with the boards when the lanes are tight. Marshall is going a little straighter than Mark did, so he could have a little more success.
He won this event here a couple of years ago, did Marshall Holman. Finished second here in 1977. So he's done very well. He started off today with 2 spares. The guy who won his first PBA title back in 1975. Has won 2 or more championships in the past 3 years. Had his finest earning year last season, winning more than $107,000, and this is Jim Plessinger, who won about $33,000 last year.
Plessinger
just barely kissed the head pin, didn't really get it.
257, David. Got a bad break when the 2-pin came off the sideboard, and our head pin and knocked out the 4-pin. Now watch it go to the sideboard. It would be our normal bucket, 2-4-5-7. But watch the head pin action. Sometimes you pay a penalty with the light pins. We said the light pins are conducive to high scoring. There's the head pin, just tapping in there, knocking out the 4. Plessinger 17 in the first, split. Marshall Holman 19 in the first with a spare working.
It's a time when you'd rather have 4 sitting there than 3, wouldn't you?
Yes, he would have made that
spare. That's the reason right there. So he's open in the second. Leaving the door open for Marshall Holman. Down by 13 pins is Jim Plessinger.
The one thing that could be hurting Plessinger, if anything, today is he's what we do call laying the ball short. That's almost a no-no in today's urethane surfaces and conditions. You want to get the ball out over the foul line to delay the roll and hook and hold the line. Jim Plessinger is laying quite a few balls right at the foul line, and he doesn't quite get enough lift to make it finish it from that position. That was much better right there.
But the result's not much better.
Well, he got more hook. You see, he was looking at the foul line. He thought that ball would go solid in the pocket, but he had made the adjustment, threw the ball real well, got a tremendous lift, and a ball broke high. And actually, that is a result of the other mistakes he made. Now, what he has to do is adjust off his good ones and forget the bad ones.
Young man who has yet to win a PBA tournament has bowled in this event, ARC Alameda twice, and has not cashed. He, of course, will cash this time, and he is up with a spare in the third and trailing Marshall Holman, who's coming up now. Marshall leading by 13 pins.
Marshall Holman, the power player has left 2 weak 10s. Marshall will just try to put more power on the ball. What I'm saying is get his arm a little closer to his body and snap his wrist a little harder as he comes through the ball. Hopefully to make the ball finish another half an inch to carry that 10 pin out. And he really juiced it up. But there's the results of trying to overpower the lane instead of go with it.
Left 3, 6, 10.
The proper adjustment for anybody, whether you're Marshall Holman or the local player at home, is when the lanes are that tight and the ball's not coming up, reduce the ball speed, move to the right, keep your hand behind the ball, don't try to hook it to the pocket, start it up towards the pocket.
And he picks it up, and Marshall Holman has a string of 3 spares. Likes to be called the Medford Meteor, I'm told. Out of Medford, Oregon. Great orchard country up there. 3 rack coming up in lane 29.
Reason a player will take that. He just doesn't like the spot of the pins or wants to settle himself down. He's allowed 1 a game, and Marshall took his right there in the 4th. Leading by 10 pins, 4th frame.
Once again, a little heavy on the head pin. Leaves the 4-7.
Mystified at what's happening, but when you don't play them properly, you have to have problems going high. Fortunately, he's ended up with all simple spares. Marshall, if he makes a spare, will have an 8-pin lead through 4 frames.
He does make the spare. He does have an 8-pin lead against Jim Plessinger. And we'll return live to Alameda, California, right after this message.
David Lacey keeps an eye on nature for Dutch Master cigars. In this Caribbean aging room, he's checking fine tobacco naturally fermenting. If it's too dry, it ferments too slowly. If it's too warm, it overheats and ferments too quickly.
Okay. I'll turn it today.
But a master like Lacey can make nature behave, so fine tobacco can become a fine cigar.
Needs a little more time.
Try our president. There really are masters at Dutch Masters.
Are you paying through the nose for your deodorant? Why waste money? Get on the stick. Speed Stick Solid Deodorant from Menon. Look, you'd use up 2 3-ounce sprays and start a 3rd before you'd use up 1 2.5-ounce Speed Stick. Not only that, Speed Stick is effective. 60% more effective against odor than the leading deodorant spray. So why pay through the nose for an aerosol?
Why waste money?
Try Speed Stick Solid Deodorant from Menon.
This is Dave Dials, and we have a match between Jim Plessinger and Marshall Holman. Neither man has had a strike yet in this 3rd match. Plessinger down by 8 and bowling in the 4th frame. And during our commercial break, Marshall Holman looked up at Palmer Falgren and shrugged his shoulders and held his hands out as if to say, no, I don't have a clue as to what I'm doing wrong. Jim Plessinger, and he gets a strike, the first one. Let's go down now to Bo Burton.
Thank you, Dave. And with me is the tournament leader, Warren Nelson. And Warren, his reputation has followed him a little bit around the country. He's been known as Bad Boy Nelson, Tantrum Nelson. But today and this week, you've been pretty good. What seems to be the difference?
I've been working on my attitude, Bo. It's lost my sponsor at the end of the summer, and it knocked some sense into me. And it kind of showed me that I can't get mad anymore, so I'm trying to keep my attitude.
You don't think kicking the racks knocks the pins down?
No.
How about your spare shooting? Is it a little better this year?
Well, I only shot 2 spares this week, and the rest of them were strikes, so it's working out okay.
Okay, good luck. You'll need some strikes in this last game. Back to you, Dave.
Okay, Jim Plessinger has left the 2-8 in the 5th frame. This young man, Warren Nelson, very candid. Said he's got a bad attitude. And we've all had that time to time. And a fine pickup by Jim Plessinger. And he now has closed the gap against Marshall Holman to 8 pins. Marshall Holman is up now, working on a string of 4 spares, which may sound good to the average bowler, but not to him. Needs a strike. Gets a lot of action, but not enough, and he leaves the 8-pin.
Marshall Holman has moved to almost the extreme outside line, somewhere out near the first arrow, the 5th board on the lane, going straight down, trying to conquer the lane that way. But nobody seemed to really find the right combination. Plessinger had it in the last game, but seems to have lost it in the early part of this game. It's going to be tight competition. Holman leading by 7.
Marshall Holman, it's his 5th consecutive spare. Bo?
Comparison of 2 of the young players, both of them have what we call a correction step. See how Holman steps over on his 2nd step. Plessinger will step over right near the end. And look at, they're almost in the same position. Plessinger a little straighter towards the pins, but see him drift left? Both in the exact same position as they come through the ball, though. That's the key. Arm close to your body, good extension.
Marshall Holman with his first strike coming in the 6th frame. And the audience says, all right, maybe you got it now. Look at him. And his wife, Barbara, very pleased, too.
If anybody's changed Marshall's act for the good, it's that young lady sitting right behind him. Barbara Holman has made Marshall more of a winner than he ever was before. 7-pin deficit. Plessinger, 6 frame, 66 in the 4th, spare working in the 5th.
A little heavy, but he gets by with it. Got a lot of action.
2-pin comes off the sideboard, Dave. That's the hit that all the pros like to carry, the high hit. The pros have the power to carry the thin hit, but when they can carry that high percentage hit of the 4-pin coming in, that's what makes the big scores for them. As you can see on our overhead telescore, that's how the people viewing the telecast today see it here in the bowling center. Both players a strike in the 6th. Plessinger trailing by 7. Can take the lead for the first time.
He carries them all. Jim Plessinger with a double, and he's up by 3.
Boy, he really threw that good, too. You saw he got the ball well out on the lane, good extension. He did it all right. Look at the concentration in his eye, just totally affixed on his target. Now see that ball about 6-8 inches over the foul line, straight down. What a nice shot, and watch this pin action.
See that shot of him, he looked like Chuck Connors out of Rifleman, a Cub and Dodger first baseman. And Marshall Holman with a double. Now we have a match. They're matching spares, now they're matching strikes.
The competitor spirit of Marshall Holman. Nobody is more emphatic on the lane and more determined to win than this young man.
He does everything but call the round. He doesn't do any poetry, does he, about when he's going to beat somebody or by how much?
He better do 10 in the pit because Plessinger is not going to lay down and just let him win. This is a crucial shot. Holman leading by 7.
And he leaves the 10.
What a shot he threw. Put everything he had on it. Maximum ball. Solid in the pocket. And the bowler's nemesis, the solid 10-pin. He just drove the 6 straight up in the air over the 10. Just a bad break.
3rd time. He left a 10 also in the 1st and 2nd frames. And he picks up a spare. Marshall Holman with 142 in the 7th, a spare in the 8th, and he's up by 6. And this is Jim Plessinger.
Plessinger has never won a PBA tournament. He's trailing by 6 pins, but he has a double working. He can take the lead over Holman by 4, 8th frame.
And we mentioned how well he did last year, but in 1978, when he changed his game around, he bowled in only 7 tournaments that time.
Well, he can get the dividends with the style he's got, but here's a crucial shot right now. Trailing by 6. Oh, he just completely lost it on the way of the line. He knew it. He almost gave up on the ball before it. What happened is his elbow came away from his body halfway through his swing and just pulled it right up, David. Once you break the arc of that swing, you have no control of the ball. Got a bad break leaving a 4-6, but that is the penalty when you throw one that poorly.
And he picks up the 6th, but he is open in the 8th. And Marshall Holman has an opportunity here.
What every player has to learn if he wants to get into any kind of pressure situations is know his own faults in a crucial situation. Plessinger there in an absolutely crucial situation to take the lead, raised up at the line, let his arm get away from his body. He has to learn by that mistake. The match is not over, but he should have never made a mistake that big in that position.
Needs a strike here. He's trailing now by 20. A couple of frames ago, he was leading by 3. Let it get away that time, too.
He just gave up. This frame before just kind of took the wind out of him, and he just didn't go through that ball. He just babied it down there just like he was throwing shadow balls. And
looked like almost he was aiming it instead of letting it roll.
Well, David, if you try to aim, you just don't get that loose roll, like you said, and you have to be competitive all the frames. He kind of gave up on his own game right there.
Picked off the 10, and he's guilty of having 2 consecutive open frames, and he is trailing Marshall Holman by 32 pins, the critical 9th frame, and Marshall could pretty much put it away right here.
Needs 1 mark in the last 2 frames to lock it up.
Let's go, Mars!
And he jumps right on it. Those kind of leads, I think, are called insurmountable.
Well, Marshall bowled a nice steady game, but you know, on the tour, you got to remember that we're just bowling to win. And score is really relative. If you shoot 190 and lose or 190 and win, there is a big difference only in your pocketbook. And that's what these fellows are worried about. Marshall doesn't care how big a game he shoots. He just wants to win.
Marshall Holman, the winner, and he'll go into the finals against Warren Nelson, and we'll be right back with more the ARC Alameda Open.
At the 1904 World's Fair, Harvey Firestone received a gold medal for his tire. But to Harvey, the real proof that he was building a good tire was people were buying it. Just about every car on the fairground was riding on Firestone. Today, the Firestone 721 is being proved the same way. American drivers have bought over 20 million 721s. You know, Harvey always said, give people a good product, and they'll buy it.
That's Coach Johnson. He's from the college. Looks like he's worried about his problem dandruff. I wish he'd ask me.
Mr. Owens, I need a shampoo.
Ever tried Tegrin?
Can it really work on my itching and flaking?
Well, in a national survey, 3 out of 4 dermatologists judged Tegrin's medication effective in fighting even problem dandruff.
I'll give it a tryout.
Hey, how's that dandruff problem?
Tegrin's a winner, Mr. Owens.
Prove it to yourself. Tegrin works.
Tonight and every night while the crisis continues, stay with ABC News for late-night special reports.
Mention tires in the Northwest, and people naturally think of Les Schwab. And they believe him when he says, if we can't guarantee it, we won't sell it. If it's time for your next set of tires, why not give Les Schwab a try? Really is a name you can depend on.
America will soon spend nearly $2 billion a week for imported oil. Synthetic fuels, nuclear, solar, and coal could help break the OPEC connection by the year 2000. But how do we make it through the 80s? This is Robert McNeil. Join me for a 1-hour special report on America's energy future, as we look at proposed solutions that could save up to 40% of our energy needs right now.
This Thursday evening at 9 on KOBI 5M. You're watching KOBI 5M Medford.
There you see the way it's gone. Marshall Holman has won over Jim Plessinger 221 to 180, setting the stage for the final match for $10,000 against Warren Nelson, the tournament leader all week long. So that figures to be a good one. And, you know, one of the popular features on the Pro Bowlers Tour in the last 2 or 3 years has been the tip of the week. And our compadre, Nelson Burton, handles that part of the show.
Today's Pro Bowlers Tip of the Week is brought to you by Rolaids.
Welcome back to another year of tips on the Pro Bowlers Tour. We'll bring you some interesting lessons to help both the beginner and avid player. We'll start with the most important element in the game of bowling, the lane itself. The section you're most familiar with is the approach area, which can be 15 to 19 feet long, constructed of hard maple, and ending right here at the foul line. The section just beyond the foul line is also constructed of hard maple to keep the lane from denting and to allow the ball to skid. It extends down to the arrow area where the lane is tied in with a darker colored pine. This softer pine area runs all the way to the pin deck, and it is the zone where the ball does its rolling and hooking. And finally, to make the area more playable, a lane must be conditioned daily to maintain the surface and also to give the ball a consistent roll. A lane without conditioner would wear quickly and the ball would be uncontrollable. The amount of conditioner is sometimes a complaint, but a certain amount of conditioner is necessary if the bowler is to have a playable surface to bowl upon, even though there may be an occasional dirty blouse or shirt.
How do you spell relief?
When I get acid indigestion, I spell relief R-O-L-A-I-D-S.
Rolaids spells relief. Clinical tests prove with Rolaids you get relief Tums can't beat. That's right, relief Tums can't beat. In fact, relief no other leading antacid can beat. How do you spell relief?
For heartburn, I know. R-O-L-A-I-D-S.
S.
Relief no other leading antacid can beat.
Frank Gifford in our New York studio on a cold, raw, snowy day here in New York, keeping you up on the happenings in the world of sports. And in college basketball, second-rated Kentucky went into Knoxville, Tennessee this afternoon. They ran into a buzzsaw. Tennessee winning that one 49-47 on a basket by Howard Wood with 2 seconds to play. Okay, let's go back now to Dave Dials.
Along with Bo Burton, this is Dave Dials, and the man you're seeing on your screen is Marshall Holman. That expression, one of delight. It's saying tacitly, good, I'm in the finals. And he is, against Warren Nelson. This is a battle of pretty good egos, Bo, to be candid about it.
Super egos. I have to go with the experience of Marshall Holman, but on this particular condition, nobody, when there's a lot of oil on the tour, throws a more powerful ball than the tournament leader, Warren Nelson, simply because he doesn't spin it. He lifts it like the old full roller bowlers, and where the ball rolls almost on the whole center of the ball. And when you have the heavy oil like that, he may be the one guy that can overpower him. That's why he's in the #1 spot, and maybe he can handle him. He doesn't have the experience, but he's a determined winner.
Starts off with a strike. And I liked it when he pointed out in his interview with you that the person he's had to beat most in recent months of the last year has been himself, a victory over himself and his temper.
Well, he's a gifted athlete in almost anything he ever did. He was a tremendous karate expert here in his younger days. He made the finals in California, and it's tough to calm down and try to compete against all these guys out here. Holman just missed the building, Dave. I'll tell you, if there's anything to cut your ego down, is to throw that one wild. That's like a pitcher throwing it into the press box. The footwork of Marshall Holman, he drifts a little bit to the left and readjusts. He slides right at the line smoothly. Where he made his mistake is he just threw a wild one. You just forget about those. Hopefully.
If you can.
If you can. He doesn't even know where to shoot this. He's never left the 5-6. That's a left-hander split. That's how far he missed.
And he missed it.
If anything that Warren Nelson needed to pump him up was have an opponent throw something like that at you. Marshall can't be nervous. I mean, he's been there 100 times before. Warren Nelson has only been on our telecast twice in his life and does not have the real experience, but to watch a player throw something out there like that has got to loosen you up.
The difference in this whole thing is $4,000. The winner gets $10,000. Second place is worth $6,000. A wavering 9-pin.
A good break. Could
have been worse, yeah.
Yes, he could have, David. His ball breaking through there very sharply. The 2-pin goes to the sideboard. Watch it on the 3rd pin on the left. Trips out to 4, fortunately. Or he'd had to 4-9 and really have dug himself a hole early in the match.
You talk about a hole, that's a chasm.
I'll tell you what, Warren Nelson, if he ever wants to get a good break, he has it right there. Well, Barb will definitely give Marshall a little.
I've seen wives look like that.
Well, $4,000, that doesn't buy him any clothes, does it? Are you kidding? Warren Nelson, what a shot in the arm. He'll just juice this up for all he's got.
Got a little break, too.
Yes, he did. He went wide, but he didn't get enough lift on the ball. Warren Nelson, if you want to see the power positions in bowling, watch his shoulder position, watch his arm locked at the top of the swing, his wrist position directly in behind the ball. See those fingers? Now rotate the thumb early and tremendous uplift with the wrist. You see his hand doesn't go around the ball. He does it all with his wrist action.
He's up by 22 pins. I tell you, there's not an ounce of fat on him. He's in excellent physical shape.
Always has been in good shape. The one thing that Warren Nelson has always needed is the ability to make up for bad shots. He would throw 5, 6, 7 strikes in a game and still shoot 190. And good pros, you just can't do that. Just like Holman has made so many mistakes early. Common mistakes made by amateurs were always made by Warren Nelson. He used to always beat himself. He feels his spare game has improved and he thinks he can win.
And he gets a strike. And he got a lot of strikes this week. He averaged .234 this week, and in fact had a perfect game in the third round of qualifying this week. Watch the expression.
6-pin up on against the sideboard, lays right in the 10. Little love tap. Look at those eyes. You think he isn't ready?
Should go steely eyes, isn't it?
You bet.
Marshall Holman has not found the groove for a while.
Well, he guessed. He decided to go way outside, try to get optimum angle to the pocket. Now, notice he's laying the ball down on about the 8th, 9th board right there. Now he's going out past the first arrow and then out to about the 3rd board and trying to snap it back in. Now, that is a good way to conquer some slick lanes, move to the extreme outside line. But what you have to do is not try to hook it as much as Marshall's doing. Marshall would be better off to move in where Nelson is and see what he can do. But when you only have 7 frames left and no practice balls, it'd be a complete gamble. Let's see if he makes that decision. Now he's going to stay outside and just try to overpower him.
And he got it. Marshall Holman against Warren Nelson in the finals of the ARC Alameda Open. We'll return with the conclusion of the match after this.
Good night.
Mr. Secretary, hope you're finished by next week. Being a league secretary is indeed overwhelming. But tonight, the whelm turns. Tonight, I'll get all the scores, averages, handicaps, team averages, team standings, high series, all automatically. Thanks to AMF Data Magic. First, automatic scorekeeping with Magic Score, and now automatic record keeping with Data Magic. AMF, you've made my job a snap.
Well, the weather up here is tough on everything.
Oh, you kind of feel good that you have a diehard.
You need a good battery in the city of Anchorage.
In Anchorage, they buy more diehards than any other battery.
I think the diehard was probably designed with Anchorage in mind.
Yeah, we depend on the diehard.
Turns that motor over just fantastic.
And so far, Sears diehard battery has been a good battery for me.
The diehard, with extra power to start your car when most batteries won't.
Turn the key over and it goes, you know that?
Sold only at Sears.
Next Saturday, the second stop on the Pro Bowlers Tour, the $135,000 Showboat Invitational from Las Vegas, Nevada. That's 3 Eastern and Pacific, 2 Central Time, next Saturday on ABC.
This is the match for $10,000 in the first PBA championship of 1980, and this is Warren Nelson, who's off to a hefty 22-pin lead, bowling in frame number 4, working on a strike. Could have been worse.
Just a horrible shot, David. He lost it on a downswing, never gave the ball a chance. When you're a hook ball bowler like Warren, you have to give the ball room. He threw the ball straight at the nose. Fortunately, he didn't end up with a 4-6 split. He has a 22-pin lead, working on exactly 200. Strike, spare, strike, and hopefully another spare. Marshall Holman has 38 in the 3rd with a strike in the 4th.
Warren Nelson has marked in every frame. Marshall Holman, of course, was open in the first, 5-6. He's down by 22. Warren Nelson looking for a victory. He had the 1978 PBA National Championship.
That was the only time he was really truly in contention for title. He led the National in Reno, Nevada, and won it and one game on TV.
There he's got it back. Tremendous pressure now on Marshall Holman, working on a strike in the 4th.
Marshall coming to almost a mutt situation with Warren Nelson sitting down with a strike working. He has all sorts of possibilities. Holman trailing by 22 has really been struggling out there.
Coming up, Chris Schenkel will be with you next week for the $135,000 Showboat Invitational in Las Vegas, followed by the Miller High Life Classic in Anaheim.
At Quaker State with Bobby Cooper down there in Texas.
Holman responds with a double, reducing Warren Nelson's lead to 12 pins.
He loved this one real wide and just ripped him apart. He's a competitor. Trailing by 12, he can reduce Nelson's lead to 2 pins with a strike in the 6th.
Leaves the 10. that one.
10. Same thing that happened in the last game against Plessinger, but Plessinger fell apart. Marshall needing that strike to really close the match into contention. Left another solid 10.
Some of the other tournaments coming up. February 2nd, the Rolaids Open at, well, your home state, Missouri.
Dick Weber's lanes they have there. And we go to the Midas up in Palatine or Chicago area, and the AMF in Peoria, Illinois. Woody Woodruff's here watching that tournament, one of the executives.
And we have the Ford Open in North Olmsted, Ohio. I'll be there for that one. And the True Value Open in Miami. The Fairlanes Open in Adelphi, Maryland. Marshall Holman with a spare in the 6th. And he trails by 13 against Warren Nelson.
We have two major tournaments back-to-back later on this spring. The U.S. Open in Windsor Locks and the PBA National in Sterling Heights, Michigan, near Detroit.
I'll come out and talk to you, all right?
Your hometown.
I'll come out and heckle you. That's not my hometown. That's my adopted hometown.
All right. Warren Nelson leading by 13, can extend to 23.
And he does it. Warren Nelson with a double. I think the crowd's kind of with him now.
Well, he's from California area, and watch the tremendous lift. You see that hand rotate around the ball with the thumb down, and then the fingers lift up through the side of the ball. Tremendously high roll. Not much spin on that ball, just revolutions. He really is in the driver's seats now. 23-pin lead, double working, can extend to 33 pins. Would be a tremendous lead with just 3 frames to go.
And he knew that was good the minute he let it go, didn't he?
He's been bowling sensational all week.
One more. 3 in a row for Warren Nelson. Let's take a look at the rest of the tour events coming up as we make 16 stops here.
You have the Miller High Life Open, and then we go see Bob Palin at the King Louis Open, and finally the granddaddy of them all, the Firestone Tournament of Champion, our 16th stop.
$1.8 million up for grabs on the PBA Winter Tour. You'll see Palin right here on ABC, and Marshall Holman comes through with a strike in the 7th. He's hanging in there. He could have done nothing else but strike there if he wants to stay in the match.
I agree. That crucial 6th frame where he left a solid 10 cost him 21 pins, and really he's only trailing by 33. It was definitely a big deficit, but the 8th frame became just a pivotal frame right now for Marshall Holman. With a 33-pin deficit, it's a must-strike situation. It's taking a little extra time. Must not like the feel of the ball or something. That's a good idea. If you're not sure, set it down and start all over. 107 in the 6th, strike in the 7th, needs this double.
Left to 10 once more. He's had trouble with the 10-pin all day long.
Just bad luck. It's a tremendous ball that Holman throws. The 6 just flies around the 10. Marshall doesn't need the real light pins that we have to get tremendous pin action, and sometimes he pays the penalty for that powerful ball. With a tremendous extension follow through. Well, the situation is this. The best Marshall Holman can do is a 2:07 game if he strikes the 9th, 10th, 11th, and fills in the 12th frame. Warren Nelson is right now going at a 2:19 pace, so the only undoing that Warren can have will be his own. He has a title in his hand if he just marks out, barring some freak, like a foul or a gutter ball or something.
He can only be himself, you're saying?
Correct.
That's what you call responding. 4 in a row, increasing his lead to 43 pins.
I'll tell you, I know this young man, David, and he is a hyper young man. And a year ago, he'd have jumped over backwards and done a backflip. But somehow he's learned to control his temper and his emotions, and he's turning them all into his bowling ball instead of into the pin ball return racks or something. I'll tell you, it's a good lesson for a lot of young bowlers to learn. Warren Nelson, I never thought would be a winner, consistent winner on a tour, simply because of his temper. He's got
turning it into his pocketbook, really.
You better believe it. This match is well in hand. It's see you later if he strikes here.
And he does. That's 5 in a row. What a way to wind it up. 53-pin edge for Warren Nelson.
Well, David, we go right from here. We go to Las Vegas, and the tournament starts on Sunday over there. So Marshall out of the match.
Take a look at some of the other finishers in the tournament here. I mentioned Jay Robinson, who was our alternate, winning 3,000, and our statistician, Palmer Fahlgren, finished 7th. You finished 8th, and Wayne Webb
He won 2 in a row last summer. Dave Frame from California. Don Bell, steady bowler, right up there. Steve Martin, another power player, right up near the top.
Marshall Holman raising his hand as if to say, well, can't do any better than that.
Malacosta finished 13th. Gil Slacker, steady, right there in 14th. Bob Hadley, power bowler. Jimmy Certain, steady as ever, powerful player. Kyle Shedd and Bobby Fenton, been working hard at his game. Kevin Schwabe, Cliff McNeely, and Ed Wallace.
A little late, Marshall Holman, the strike in the 10th. He's down by 55. He looks at the pins and says, thank you.
Well, what he's saying is the 2 solid 10s he left on that put him out of the match, and it's his undoing, and he's a good-tempered guy. Notice how he kept his eyes down on that shot. Shows a tremendous concentration. He knows he's going to carry this one.
Too little, too late for Marshall Holman. Finish in the 190s.
We had 24 guys in the finals this week, and Warren Nelson was the #1 guy. Just to round them out, we had in 22nd place, we had Pappas, George Pappas, our Firestone champion, who filled in for Mattingly, who got his hand hurt. Steve Wunderlich from St. Louis, and Greg Shield ragged out the top 24.
Marshall's looking for the first bus out right now. He finishes at 190.
Warren Nelson has a possible 260. He's going at a 240 pace right now. 3 more strikes would be 260. It just shows how he tremendous overpower.
You're going to get it there.
Well, it's kind of a letdown, though.
He leaves the 2, 4, 5, and 8.
Warren cut loose. Now, you can show some of that personality. You're talking about a very personal young man who's really got it under control out there.
Let's not bury it all. Tell him he can let loose now.
Yeah. The worst he can do is 224 here.
A nice little pickup. Now he'll be in the 230s.
Well, Warren emphasized the 2 changes he said at the top in our interview. 1 is he's got his temper under control. 2, he's learned how to make spares. He did not miss a spare, made a difficult bucket in the 10th frame. He's going to be in the 230s, have an easy 40-pin victory over Marshall Holman.
Warren Nelson, the winner of our first stop on the PBA Tour. He wins $10,000 in the $85,000 ARC Alameda Open. We'll be back with a wrap-up right after this.
Does Quaker State really help cars last?
Over 100,000 miles and still running fine on Quaker State.
8,000 miles already, but I'm taking good care of it, and a big part of that is using Quaker State motor oil.
180,000 miles between my Saab and my Fiat.
More than 26 million cars, big and small, are running on Quaker State. It's America's #1 selling motor oil. Quaker State helps cars last.
When you find something good, you should stick with it.
You know, for too long now, bowlers have been left out of light beer commercials, and football players have been grabbing all the glory. But bowlers know light beer from Miller tastes great. We know light's got 1/3 less calories than the regular beer. We know light's less filling. Bowlers love light just as much as football players.
That's right.
And we also love the easy opening can.
You sure do.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
For 1980, Ford did it. Completely redesigned its pickup trucks for outstanding gas mileage. Tough new Fords with the best gas mileage rating of any American-built standard pickup. Tough new Broncos with the best V8 gas mileage rating in its class. Tough Ford vans again with the best gas mileage ratings. And tough new Ford mediums. See the complete line of 1980 Ford trucks now. They're built Ford Tough.
Here's your winner, Warren Nelson. The last shot. Warren, you allowed yourself a little smile later on there.
Yeah, well, after I found out that I won, got happy.
$10,000. You told Bo Burton that you've learned to control your temper, and he said you could beat only yourself, and you didn't do it. You went out and took control of the match.
Well, it just paid off all week not getting mad. It's really been helping me for a long time now, and I'm going to try to continue not to get angry.
Maybe you can give all of us lessons. Bob Feuchter, manager of American Recreation Centers, has this beautiful trophy, and more importantly, Bob, a little cash there. He can take that right to the bank, can he?
He certainly can. It's unfortunate that this is made out to Warren instead of myself, but I guess I'm going to have to let you have it, Warren. So On behalf of American Recreation Centers, I really welcome you to the winner's circle for the first of the tournaments of the decade of the 80s.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, there's Marshall Holman over here. Marshall, congratulations on a fine performance today. I know it wasn't all that you'd want it to be, but starting the year in second place isn't bad after your fine season last year.
No, Dave, I'm very pleased, and I'd like to congratulate Warren. You know, he pulled great all week. Last night he put on an exhibition that was unbelievable, averaging almost 250 for 8 games.
Almost like a clinic, wasn't it?
It really was. I wanted to win the tournament to start the 80s, but second's not a bad way to start.
Well, you had a fine year last season. We thank all of you for your help. And it's been a great way to start the tournament. Remind all you guys and all you people out there that the PBA Tour will stop next week in that oasis in Nevada and Las Vegas. And Chris Schenkel will hurry back from Germany to be a part of that telecast. Bob, thank you very much. Marshall, Warren, congratulations on the first victory, the 1980 PBA Tour. And thank all of you for being with us. Once again, the winner of the $85,000 ARC Alameda Open is Warren Nelson. The executive producer of ABC Sports is Roone Arledge. Senior producer of the Pro Bowlers Tour is Chuck Howard. Today's program was produced by Dick Buffington, directed by Jim Jeanette. Technical director Bob Bernthal, associate director Patty Tewitt. Now this is Dave Dials along with Nelson Burton Jr. saying so long from Alameda, California. Be sure to stay tuned for ABC's Wide World of Sports next, featuring the Hula Bowl live from Honolulu, Hawaii. Travel arrangements made through and a promotional fee paid by United Airlines. More people fly United to Hawaii than any other airline. This has been a presentation of the leader, ABC Sports, bringing you exclusive coverage when the world comes to America this February for the 1980 Winter Olympics.
Next Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports, the Harlem Globetrotters...
Finals of the $85,000 Alameda Open. Holman, who won $107,000 in 1979, appears to be on the edge of being one of the game's all-time best players, according to ABC commentator Nelson Burton Jr.
Marshall Holman, a dynamic player out here, excites the crowds in various ways and very controversial. I think could be the star of the 80s. He has as nice a game and winning temperament as I've ever seen in a player. If you drew pictures of how you would want a player to bowl, I don't think you could do it any better than Marshall Holman does.
Holman beat Jim Plessinger to earn a shot at the championship against Warren Nelson of Downey, California. But 2 open frames gave Nelson an edge he never lost as he won the $10,000 first prize with a 236-190 victory. Holman earned $6,000 for that second-place finish. The professional golf season gets rolling this weekend.
And suddenly, yesterday has grown up. And the little girl is one of 2 million young ladies who get married every year. And you're one of 2 million fathers of the brides, suddenly aware of how much it takes just to give their daughter away. But you can make that day just as nice as she'd like, as nice as her mother would like, as nice as you'd like, with United States Savings Bonds. Get on the payroll savings plan where you work. And come wedding time, you'll be ready. Invest in the United States for sugar and spice and everything nice.
I'm Art Linkletter, and I want to tell you about a special that you simply must not miss. It's called Come Love the Children. You'll see kids in Asia, Africa, and Latin America. You'll laugh and cry and sing as you hear the performances of people like Ricardo Montalban, Melba Moore, Melissa Sue Anderson, Carol Lawrence. So how about you and I getting together? Let's come love the children.
Be sure to see Come Love the Children this Wednesday evening at 7 on KOBI 5M. You're watching KOBI 5M Medford.
Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition met the greatest earthquake ever known.